The house was quiet in the way only healed places ever are. She stood by the window, watching the evening light settle gently over the trees, one hand resting on the glass, as if grounding herself in the moment. For the first time in years, her chest did not feel tight. There was no fear pressing behind her ribs, no hunger, no rushing thoughts about tomorrow. Behind her, he set 2 cups of tea on the table. He did not say her name. He never did when words were unnecessary. She turned and met his eyes, steady, familiar, kind. The same eyes that had once watched her trembling under streetlights. The same eyes that had never looked at her with pity, only patience. She took the cup from his hand, their fingers brushing briefly. That was all it took. Not a confession, not a promise. Just that quiet touch, full of everything they had survived. In the hallway, a door opened softly. A young woman paused there, older now, quieter, no longer cruel. She watched them for a moment, then looked away, something like understanding passing across her face. The girl who had once been bullied did not follow her. She did not need to. She leaned her head against his shoulder, and he rested his chin lightly against her hair. Outside, the world continued as it always had, indifferent and loud. Inside, there was warmth. There was belonging. She had not escaped her past. She had grown beyond it. And in that stillness, tea cooling on the table, evening light fading into night, love finally felt less like survival and more like home. Now listen. Grab your popcorn and let the story unfold. There are some lives that begin quietly, like a candle lit in a drafty room. Small flame, stubborn glow, refusing to go out. Her name was Sarah. She grew up in a house where love was never scarce, but money always was. The kind of home where the walls carried the sound of careful breathing at night, where the fridge hummed louder than it should because it was old, and where her mother measured cooking oil the way other people measured gold. Her father, Jonah, had once been a man with strong hands and an easy laugh. He used to come home smelling of work, metal, dust, sun. The kind of father who lifted her as though she weighed nothing, who called her my bright girl, and meant it as both a nickname and a prophecy. Then the sickness came. At first it was small things, a cough that lingered, fatigue that didn't make sense, a shadow under his eyes that no amount of rest could erase. Then the doctor's voice turned gentle, and the room grew too quiet, and words like terminal and progression and time began to haunt their kitchen. Sarah learned early what it meant to swallow panic without letting it show. She watched her mother, Mina, stand at the sink for long minutes after washing dishes, hands still in the soapy water, staring at nothing. She watched her father pretend he was fine, because pretending was the only gift he could still give them. They became a family that moved around pain like furniture in a narrow hallway, careful not to bump into it, careful not to knock it over. And still, her parents pushed, not with loud speeches, not with big declarations, with quiet, relentless effort. Mina took extra shifts. She mended neighbors' clothes. She cleaned houses on weekends, the smell of bleach and lemon soap following her home like a second skin. Jonah, even as his body weakened, insisted on being present in the ways he could, helping Sarah study, correcting her essays with slow handwriting, tapping the paper with his finger and saying, "You can do better than that, bright girl. Give the world your best." There were nights Sarah heard her mother crying behind the bedroom door. There were mornings Jonah's face was pale, and his smile looked like it cost him something. But whenever Sarah spoke about quitting school to help, Mina would shake her head, fierce and trembling. "No," her mother would say, voice thin but unbreakable. "You will not inherit our struggle. You will inherit our hope." Sarah studied on buses, on break at her part-time job, at the kitchen table while her mother cooked rice that was stretched to feed them all. She studied beside her father's bed when he was too weak to sit at the table, reading aloud so he could feel like life was still normal. She did not chase success because it was glamorous. She chased it because she loved her parents too much to let their sacrifices become meaningless. When the scholarship letter came, it arrived in a plain envelope that looked ordinary, almost insulting in how simple it was, considering the way it would change everything. Sarah opened it with shaking hands, and then she froze. Mina read it over her shoulder, fingers pressing into Sarah's arm so tightly it hurt. Jonah sat in a chair nearby, watching their faces with the patience of someone who had learned to read joy from expressions before words were even spoken. Sarah's breath caught. Full scholarship, tuition covered, housing support, merit award, a prestigious college, Westbridge University. The kind of place people spoke about like it was a distant city in a different world. Mina made a sound that was half laughter, half sob. She covered her mouth with both hands as if joy was too big to hold. Jonah closed his eyes. When he opened them, they were bright with tears he did not bother to hide. "My bright girl," he whispered. Sarah cried into his shoulder, careful of his bones, careful of his pain, but unable to stop herself. In that moment, everything felt possible, even the impossible. Westbridge University was beautiful in a way that felt almost cruel. The buildings looked like old money made into architecture. Stone walls, towering windows, ivy that climbed like it had permission. The campus lawns were trimmed so perfectly they seemed artificial, and the fountain at the center glimmered under sunlight like a promise. Sarah arrived with one suitcase, a second-hand laptop, and a heart full of fear she tried to fold away neatly. She wore her best outfit, simple, clean, carefully chosen. She braided her hair the night before because she didn't want to look like she didn't belong. But the truth was, she felt it immediately. This was a place where people moved like they were used to being seen. A place where confidence looked effortless and expensive. A place where wealth wasn't just money, it was comfort in the air. In the way students spoke about vacations and internships secured through family friends. In the way they complained casually about things Sarah's mother would have considered a miracle. Sarah kept her head down. She went to orientation. She found her dorm. She smiled politely. She tried to be invisible in the way poor kids sometimes learn, because being noticed can mean being judged. And then, inevitably, she was noticed anyway. It started with whispers. then looks, then laughter that stopped when she turned her head. It wasn't because Sarah was loud or rude or arrogant. It was worse than that. Sarah was beautiful. Not the staged, perfectly curated beauty of social media filters, but the kind of beauty that felt natural and quiet. Soft eyes that looked like they carried stories, a smile that appeared rarely, but meant something when it did. A presence that didn't ask for attention and still received it. That kind of beauty can be forgiven when it belongs to someone wealthy. It is not always forgiven when it belongs to someone who is poor. The first time Sarah met Serena Ashford, it happened outside the student union. Serena was surrounded by people the way a queen is surrounded by court. Girls with polished hair and glossy lips, boys who laughed too loudly at her jokes, all of them orbiting her with practiced devotion. Serena turned and saw Sarah.
Just one glance, that was all. Serena's eyes moved over her, slow, measuring. A small smile formed on Serena's lips, not kind, not warm, but sharp with amusement. "Who?" Serena asked, loud enough for Sarah. Someone murmured, "Scholarship student."
New. Serena's gaze lingered on Sarah's face a fraction too long. Then Serena smiled wider.
"Oh,"
she said, as if Sarah was something she'd already decided to dislike.
"How
Inspiring. The laughter around Serena was immediate, obedient. Sarah felt heat crawl up her neck. She walked away without reacting. That night she lay on her dorm bed staring at the ceiling, telling herself she didn't come here to make friends. She came here to survive. Bullying at Westbridge wasn't the kind that left bruises. It was the kind that left a person questioning whether they deserved to exist in the same space as everyone else. It came in the form of exclusion, group projects that mysteriously filled up before she could join, invitations that accidentally never reached her, rumors whispered in hallways. It came in the form of humiliation disguised as jokes. "Oh my God, Sarah, your accent is adorable." "Wait, you don't have a car? How do you get places? So what does your dad do again?" Questions asked with bright smiles and empty eyes. And Serena was always at the center of it. Serena didn't need to shout. She didn't need to shove. Serena only needed to look at Sarah like she was an intruder. And other people followed. Because Serena Ashford was Westbridge royalty. Her father owned a powerful company. Her family name carried weight. She wore confidence like perfume. The campus seemed built for people like her. Serena had everything, except one thing: control. Sarah never tried to compete with Serena, but Serena acted as though her very existence was a challenge. Sarah's grades were excellent. Her professors noticed her. People sometimes glanced at her in admiration, and Serena could not stand that. One afternoon, Sarah sat in the library trying to focus while her phone buzzed in her bag. She checked it. A message from her mother. "Your dad had a tough morning, but he asked about your classes. He's proud." Sarah stared at the words until they blurred. She swallowed hard, pressing her fingers against her eyes. She wanted to be home. She wanted to hold her father's hand. But she also knew what her father would say if she went back. Stay, finish, become what we dreamed. She returned to her textbook, forcing herself to read, forcing her mind to focus. And that's when the message arrived. An invitation, a party. It was sent in a group thread that included half the freshman class, a high-profile party off campus, a house known for being owned by someone with money and carelessness. The kind of party people talked about for weeks after. Sarah almost ignored it, but then she saw the last line. "Everyone's welcome. Don't be boring." There was something about that line that felt like a dare. She stared at her screen, heart heavy. Maybe, she thought, if she showed up, people would stop treating her like an outsider. Maybe she could be normal for one night. Maybe she could forget hospitals and bills and her father's weakening voice. She told herself she would go for an hour. Just an hour. The house was loud. Music throbbed through walls, shaking the floor under her feet. Lights flickered in colors that made people's faces look unreal. The air smelled like perfume, alcohol, sweat, and something sweet that clung to the back of the throat. Sarah stayed near the edge of the room at first, hands clasped tight in front of her. Then someone handed her a drink. A girl she vaguely recognized smiled at her, too wide, too eager. "Relax," the girl said. "You look tense." Sarah hesitated. She rarely drank. She didn't trust herself to be careless. But the music was loud, and people were laughing, and for once nobody was ignoring her. The girl's smile looked friendly enough. Sarah took the cup. The first sip tasted like fruit and bitterness. The second sip tasted like freedom. She felt warmth spread in her chest. She started to breathe easier. She told herself she was overthinking. She told herself it was fine. Then the room shifted. Not suddenly, not dramatically, like the world turning slightly off-center. Sarah blinked, trying to focus. The lights seemed too bright, the music too loud. Her limbs felt heavy. She set the cup down, suddenly uneasy. She turned toward the bathroom, needing air, needing water, needing to steady herself, and then she heard laughter behind her. Sharp, familiar. Serena. Sarah turned and saw her standing near the stairs, surrounded by her friends, eyes glittering like she'd been waiting. Serena lifted her phone slightly, camera already aimed. "Oh," Serena said, loud enough for the room around to hear. "Look who decided to come out of her little scholarship cave." Sarah's stomach dropped. She tried to walk away, but her legs felt wrong, unreliable. Serena's friends laughed. Someone stepped into Sarah's path. "Where are you going?" a boy asked, grinning. Sarah tried to speak, but her tongue felt thick. Her heart started to hammer. Serena moved closer, tilting her head like she was studying a pet. "Is it true," Serena said softly, "that you're only here because people felt sorry for you?" Sarah's vision swam. She shook her head, trying to push through them, trying to get out. But hands brushed her arms, not violent, not forceful, just enough to steer her, to corner her. "Don't be dramatic," Serena laughed. "We're just having fun." Sarah felt panic rise, sharp and choking. She tried to push past. A phone flash went off, then another. People were recording, mocking, laughing. Sarah's body felt like it didn't belong to her. A voice in her head screamed, "Leave!" She stumbled forward, forcing her way through the crowd with a desperation that made her vision blur with tears. She reached the front door. The night air hit her like cold water. She ran. She ran without direction, without thought, only driven by the need to get away. The street was dim, quiet compared to the chaos behind her. Her breath came in ragged pulls. Her feet struck pavement unevenly. Her vision swayed. The drug in her system, whatever it was, dragged at her consciousness like hands trying to pull her under. She stepped off the curb without realizing. Headlights flared. A horn blared, sharp, sudden. Tires screeched. Sarah froze. A car stopped inches from her. The driver's door opened immediately. A man stepped out, tall, moving fast. "Hey!" His voice cut through the night, urgent but not cruel. "Are you hurt?" Sarah blinked, staring at him like he was not real. He came closer, eyes scanning her face. His gaze softened instantly. "Can you tell me your name?" he asked. Sarah tried to answer, but her voice trembled. I... Her knees buckled. The man caught her before she fell. His hands were steady, warm, careful. "Okay," he said calmly, as if speaking softly could pull her back to safety. "You're not okay. You've been drugged." Sarah's head lolled against his shoulder. The scent of his coat, clean, faintly woody, grounded her. "I'm going to help you," he said. "You're safe now." She wanted to believe him. Some part of her did. He guided her gently into the passenger seat of his car, buckling her seatbelt like she was something fragile. "What's your address?" he asked. Sarah fumbled with her phone, hands shaking, trying to pull it up. He noticed. "Give it to me," he said, not demanding, just practical. She handed him her phone. He found her dorm address and nodded. "West Bridge," he murmured, voice tightening slightly, like he recognized the world she came from. He drove carefully, glancing at her often. Sarah's eyelids fluttered. She fought to stay awake. The man spoke quietly, keeping her tethered. "What happened?" he asked gently. Sarah swallowed, throat tight. "Party," she whispered. I didn't. It's spinning." He exhaled slowly. "Okay," he said. "We're going home." When he walked her into the dorm lobby, the receptionist looked up, startled. The man's presence filled the space, calm authority, controlled anger beneath it. "She needs help," he said. "Call campus security and medical." Sarah leaned against him, dizzy, embarrassed, terrified all at once. His hand remained light on her back, supportive but respectful. A resident advisor hurried over. "What happened?" "She was drugged," the man said, voice clipped now. "And she's a student here." The RA's face paled. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. She hated this, being seen like this, broken, helpless. But the man didn't look at her with disgust. He looked at her like she was a person worth protecting. When medical staff arrived, he didn't leave immediately. He waited until Sarah was sitting, until she had water, until her breathing slowed. Only then did he step back. Sarah's vision cleared just enough to see his face fully.
He was handsome in a quiet way, not flashy. Dark hair, tired eyes that looked like they carried responsibility.
He wore a simple watch, a clean coat, and the kind of expression that suggested he was used to fixing problems. "What's your name?" Sarah asked, voice small. He paused. "Elias," he said. "Elias Ashford." The name hit her like a punch. Ashford, Serena. Her stomach dropped. Elias saw her reaction immediately. "What?" he asked. Sarah's hands trembled.
"Serena Ashford,"
she whispered.
She's...
Elias's expression shifted, something dark flickering behind his eyes.
My daughter,
he said quietly. Silence fell between them. Sarah's heart pounded. Fear crawled over her skin. Elias looked at her carefully, as if understanding something he didn't want to be true. "Did she do this?" he asked. Sarah swallowed.
I don't know,
she said, though in her heart she did. Elias's jaw tightened. He looked away briefly, then back at her. "I'm going to make sure you're safe," he said, voice controlled. "And I'm going to find out what happened." Sarah stared at him, stunned. He wasn't defending Serena. He wasn't dismissing her. He was taking her seriously. Before he left, he took out a business card and placed it on the table. "If you need anything," he said, "call." Sarah looked down at the card. Ashford Holdings. Her fingers closed around it. And in that moment, before she even knew what her life was becoming, she felt something unfamiliar in her chest. Not romance, not yet. Something simpler. Relief. In the days that followed, the campus buzzed with rumors. The party incident became a story passed in whispers, carefully edited to protect certain names. Serena acted like nothing happened. She walked through halls with her head high, laughing with her friends, wearing confidence like armor. But when Serena's eyes met Sarah's, there was something new there, a flicker of unease, because now Sarah had met Elias, and Serena couldn't control that. Sarah tried to return to normal life, but normal felt impossible. She jumped at loud noises. She avoided parties. She clutched her phone tightly while walking at night. Her mother called more often, voice strained. "Your father's not doing well today," Mina whispered one night. "But he keeps asking about you." Sarah pressed the phone to her ear, tears sliding down her face. "I miss him," she whispered. "I know," Mina said softly. "But you're doing what we promised." Sarah sat on her bed after the call, shaking, chest aching with helplessness. That was the night she called Elias. She didn't even know why. Maybe because his voice had sounded steady. Maybe because his kindness had been real. Maybe because she needed someone to remind her she wasn't alone. He answered on the second ring. "Sarah?" he said, as if he had saved her number. She swallowed. "I'm sorry," she whispered, then remembered she hated sounding like she didn't belong. I'm not okay." There was a pause. Then his voice softened. "Where are you?" "In my dorm." "I'm coming," he said. She blinked. "You don't have to." "I'm coming," he repeated, calm but firm. "Stay where you are." And somehow, she did. Elias didn't come into her dorm room. He met her in the common area, respectful of boundaries, sitting across from her like he was speaking to an equal. He brought tea. It wasn't a grand gesture, just a simple cup placed in front of her, warmth rising like comfort. "Tell me what's going on," he said. Sarah stared at the cup, fingers wrapped around it. "My father," she whispered. He's dying." Elias's expression shifted. Not shock, recognition, as if he knew what it meant to love someone and feel time slipping. "And my mother is trying," Sarah continued, voice trembling. "She's trying so hard. They did everything for me. And I'm here, surrounded by people who hate me for existing." Elias listened without interrupting. When she finally stopped, he didn't offer a speech. He didn't say, "Everything will be fine." He simply said, "You're carrying too much alone." Sarah's eyes stung. Elias leaned forward slightly. "I can't change your past," he said gently. "But I can help you from here." Sarah shook her head. "I don't want charity." His eyes held hers. "This isn't charity," he said. "This is decency." He hesitated, then reached into his coat and slid another card across the table. "Come to my office tomorrow," he said. "I'll give you a part-time job, something flexible, something that won't interfere with your studies." Sarah stared at the card. "Why?" she whispered. Elias looked at her for a long moment. "Because you deserve a fair chance," he said. Sarah's throat tightened. She nodded once, and that was how it began. Not with romance, with rescue, with steady kindness, with a door opening quietly. Ashford Holdings wasn't the kind of company Sarah had imagined she would ever step into. The building was sleek and modern. Glass walls, quiet hallways, the scent of clean air and polished floors. People moved with purpose, wearing suits that fit perfectly. Sarah walked in wearing her simplest blouse, hands sweating. She felt out of place. Elias met her himself at the elevator. "Good," he said, as if her presence was expected, normal. "Come." He introduced her to a manager in operations. "She's part-time," he said. "Flexible hours. Treat her like you'd treat anyone competent." And then he looked at Sarah. "If anyone gives you trouble," he said quietly, "you come to me." Sarah nodded. The work started small, admin tasks, organizing files, updating spreadsheets, helping teams with reports. It wasn't glamorous, but it was stable. And stability felt like oxygen. Sarah worked hard. She learned quickly. She showed up early and left late when she could. Not because anyone forced her, but because she knew what effort meant. Slowly, people at the office began to respect her. Not because she was Elias's project, because she was capable. Elias kept his distance at first, professional, controlled. But there were moments, small, unnoticed by others, where his care slipped through. When he saw her skipping lunch, a sandwich appeared on her desk without explanation. When he noticed her yawning during a late afternoon shift, he told her, "Go home, rest." When she mentioned she was struggling with a difficult class, he sent her a contact for a tutor and said, "Use it." Each act was simple, but together they formed something steady around her, like a handrail on a steep staircase. And Sarah began to breathe again. The call came on a rainy Tuesday. Sarah was sitting in the library trying to study when her phone rang. Her mother's name flashed on the screen. Sarah answered immediately. Mina's voice was broken. "Come home," she whispered. "Your father, he's going." Sarah's world narrowed. She didn't remember packing. She didn't remember leaving campus. She barely remembered the drive. She only remembered the feeling of her chest splitting open with grief that hadn't even fully arrived yet. Elias drove her. He didn't ask questions. He didn't fill the silence with advice. He simply drove, steady hands on the wheel, rain streaking the windshield like tears. Sarah sat in the passenger seat, shaking, staring at nothing. When they reached her home, the house looked smaller than she remembered, as if grief had shrunk it. Inside, Jonah lay in bed, his breathing shallow. Sarah rushed to his side. "Daddy," she whispered, voice cracking. His eyelids fluttered. He turned his head slightly, and he smiled, weak, soft, familiar. "My bright girl," Jonah whispered. Sarah collapsed beside him, pressing her face against his hand. "I'm here," she sobbed. "I'm here." Jonah's fingers, thin and trembling, brushed her hair. "Don't stop," he whispered. "Don't let this be for nothing." Sarah's tears fell onto the blanket. "I won't," she whispered. "I promise." Jonah's eyes drifted to Elias, standing quietly near the door. Elias stepped forward slightly, respectful. Jonah studied him for a moment, then gave a faint nod, like a man granting permission for something he couldn't name. "Take care," Jonah whispered, voice barely there. Elias's jaw tightened. "I will," he said softly. Jonah's eyes returned to Sarah. His hand squeezed hers, weak but present. And then, slowly, his grip loosened. His breath left and did not return. The room went silent in a way that felt unnatural, as if the world had forgotten how to move. Sarah cried with a sound that didn't feel human. Mina collapsed at the bedside. Elias remained still, eyes lowered. Grief filled the small room like water. And in the middle of it, Sarah realized something terrifying. She had no father now, only the promise she made. The funeral was simple, not because Jonah didn't deserve grandeur, but because their love had always been quiet. Sarah wore black and stood beside her mother, holding her upright with her arm. Mina looked smaller, as if grief had drained her. Elias attended. He stood in the back, not intruding, not making himself part of the family moment, just present. Afterward, when people had left and the yard was scattered with damp footprints, Elias approached Mina carefully. "I'm sorry for your loss," he said, voice low. Mina looked at him, eyes red. "You're Elias," she whispered, as if she had heard his name in Sarah's stories. Elias nodded. Mina studied him for a long moment. Then she said something that surprised Sarah. "Jonah liked you," Mina said softly. "He didn't say much, but I could tell."
Elias's expression tightened. "I respected him," he said simply. Mina's hands trembled around a folded tissue. She looked at Sarah, then back at Elias. "Thank you for bringing her home that night," Mina whispered.
Elias nodded once. He didn't answer with a speech. He just said, "She wasn't safe." And that was enough. After Jonah's death, life became sharper. Bills didn't pause for grief. Food didn't appear just because a family had suffered. Mina tried to keep going, but grief made her slow. Work became harder. Smiles disappeared. Sarah returned to Westbridge with a heaviness in her bones. She threw herself into school and her job. She slept less. She ate less. She worked until her mind blurred, and slowly, without realizing it, she began to crumble. One evening at Ashford Holdings, Elias found her alone in a conference room, staring at a spreadsheet like it was written in another language. Her eyes were hollow, her shoulders slumped. "Sarah," Elias said quietly. She blinked. "Oh, sorry, I'm finishing." "Stop," he said gently. Sarah froze. Elias stepped closer, looking at her face. "You're exhausted," he said. "I'm fine." Elias didn't argue. He just pulled out a chair and sat across from her. He folded his hands on the table and waited. The silence stretched. Sarah's breathing quickened. Tears rose before she could stop them. "I don't know how to do this," she whispered. Elias's expression softened. "You don't have to do everything at once," he said. Sarah wiped her face, angry at herself for breaking. "My mother," she whispered. "She's alone, and I'm here, and I'm supposed to succeed, but I feel like I'm drowning." Elias's gaze held hers. Then he said quietly, "Let me help you in a way you can accept." Sarah frowned, confused. Elias leaned slightly forward. "Not money," he said. "Structure." He tapped the table gently. "I'll adjust your hours. I'll make sure your work supports your learning. And I'll arrange a stipend through a scholarship fund. Something you qualify for. Something you earned." Sarah stared at him. "That's still help." "Yes," he said. "But it's fair, and you need it." Sarah's throat tightened. She nodded barely. And Elias, for the first time, reached across the table, not to touch her, but to slide a folder toward her. Inside were resources, contacts, support options, careful solutions. Not grand, just solid. And once again, Sarah felt that steady handrail appear beside her. Their closeness grew slowly. Not through flirting, through small moments. Elias remembering she liked her tea with honey. Sarah noticing the way Elias rubbed his temple when he was stressed. Elias asking about her classes, then actually listening. Sarah bringing him an extra coffee once when she noticed he'd skipped lunch. They became two people moving carefully around each other's pain. Elias was 15 years older, yes, but not in a way that felt like a gap, in a way that felt like calm, in a way that felt like safety. One night, months later, Sarah stayed late at the office to finish work. The building emptied. The city outside turned dark. Elias came out of his office and paused when he saw her. "You're still here,"
Sarah looked up, startled. "I'm almost done." Elias's eyes moved over her face. "You don't have to prove anything here," he said softly. Sarah swallowed. "I'm used to proving." Elias was quiet for a moment, then he said, "You shouldn't have been forced to." Something in his voice cracked slightly. Sarah felt her chest tighten. She stared at him, the silence full of things neither of them said. Then Elias looked away first. "Go home," he murmured. "Rest." Sarah stood, gathering her things, heart beating too fast. As she walked past him, she hesitated. "Elias," she whispered. He turned. Sarah opened her mouth, then closed it. She didn't know what she wanted to say. "Thank you. I trust you. I feel safe with you. I don't know what this is." Instead, she simply nodded. Elias nodded back, and the moment passed. But it stayed with them. Serena noticed. Serena always noticed. One afternoon, Serena showed up at Ashford Holdings. Her heels clicked sharply on the marble floor. Her perfume arrived before she did. Sarah was at the reception desk, dropping off a file. Serena's eyes locked onto her immediately. Serena's smile was pure ice. "Oh," Serena said, voice sweet. "You really are everywhere." Sarah's stomach tightened. "What are you doing here?" Sarah asked quietly. Serena leaned close, gaze glittering. "I came to see my father," Serena whispered. "But it seems he already has company." Sarah's hands curled. Serena's voice dropped lower. "Do you think you can replace me?" Serena hissed. "Do you think you can take what's mine?" Sarah's pulse raced. "I'm not trying to take anything," she said, voice steady. Serena's smile sharpened. "You're poor," Serena whispered. "You're desperate, and my father loves fixing broken things." Sarah's eyes stung, but she didn't flinch. Serena stepped back as Elias appeared in the hallway. His presence shifted the air immediately. "Serena," Elias said, voice calm but firm. "My office." Serena's expression changed instantly, turning innocent. "Daddy," she said brightly. Elias looked at her, eyes hard. He did not glance at Sarah, but his voice softened slightly when he spoke again. "Sarah," he said quietly, "you can go." Sarah hesitated. Elias's gaze met hers briefly. Not romantic, protective. Sarah nodded and left, heart pounding. Behind her, she heard Elias's office door close, and for the first time she realized Elias was choosing. Not loudly, but clearly. Weeks later, something unexpected happened. A message arrived from Elias. "Come to dinner, my home, Sunday, 6 p.m. Sarah stared at it, stunned. Dinner? With him? That wasn't work. That wasn't professional. That was personal. Her fingers hovered over the screen. She typed, "Is this about work?" Elias replied, "No." Sarah's breath caught. She typed again, "Why?" Elias's response came slower. "Because you've become important to me." Sarah's hands trembled. She stared at the words until they felt like they might break her, and yet something in her softened. She typed, Okay. The truth about Serena's father and Elias's past came out slowly. One day, Elias called Sarah with a soft voice. "Serena is not my biological daughter," Elias said. "Her father was my very good friend, and he died in a plane crash with his wife." Sarah froze. "Years ago, we worked together. He was a good man and someone I admired. When he died, I vowed to take care of his daughter like mine." Sarah's throat tightened. "So you legally adopted Serena?" Sarah whispered. "Yes," Elias said softly. "He asked me once, if anything ever happened to him, to look out for Serena if I could." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "So Elias is doing it because—" "I guessed I let her have her way most times, not knowing that I was not being a good father to her. She was such a lovely child. I guess she has a lot of grief to deal with," Elias said. Sarah sat in silence, heart aching. She thought of Serena's cruelty, Elias's quiet steadiness, his patience, his protectiveness, his restraint. And she realized something. Love had been growing without either of them naming it. When Serena found out the connection, it shattered what little control she had left. She stormed into Elias's home one evening, face flushed with rage. Sarah heard the door slam, heard Serena's sharp footsteps. Serena stood in the doorway, eyes wild. "You're disgusting," Serena hissed at Sarah. "You planned this. You planned everything." Sarah stood still, heart pounding. Elias stepped between them instantly. "Enough," he said, voice low. Serena glared at him. "You're choosing her over me." Elias's face tightened. "I'm choosing what is right," he said. Serena's eyes filled with something like panic. "She'll ruin you," Serena whispered. "She's nothing." Sarah's breath caught. Elias's voice turned cold. "Don't speak about her that way," he said. Serena laughed bitterly. "She'll never belong in our world." Elias looked at Serena, and something final settled in his eyes. "She doesn't need to belong in your world," he said. "She belongs in my world where she is respected." Serena stared at him, stunned. Then she turned and ran out, slamming the door again. Silence filled the house. Sarah trembled. Elias turned to her, expression softening. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. Sarah shook her head. "No," she whispered. "This is not your fault." Elias watched her, then asked, "Are you scared?" Sarah swallowed. "Yes." Elias nodded as if he understood. Then he said quietly, "I won't let anyone hurt you again." Time passed. Sarah graduated with honors. Mina cried when she watched her daughter walk across the stage, as if she was watching Jonah's dream come true. Elias stood in the crowd, quiet pride in his eyes. After graduation, Sarah and Mina sat together at home, holding hands in the living room. Mina looked at her daughter. "You look different," Mina said softly. Sarah smiled faintly. "I feel different," she admitted. Mina hesitated. "Is it love?" Mina asked. Sarah looked down. "I don't know," she whispered. "But when I'm with him, I can breathe." Mina nodded slowly, eyes shining. "That's how you know," she murmured.
The proposal was not dramatic. It happened on an ordinary evening. Elias and Sarah sat in the living room, the soft glow of a lamp between them, the quiet hum of the world outside. Sarah held a book but wasn't reading. Elias watched her, as if memorizing her face. "Sarah," he said softly. She looked up. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Her breath caught. Elias didn't kneel dramatically. He didn't perform. He simply placed the box on the table between them, as if offering something precious and gentle. "I don't want to rescue you," he said quietly. "You've rescued yourself." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Elias's voice softened further. "I just want to be part of your life," he said. "If you'll let me." Sarah stared at the box, then at him. Her chest swelled with something warm and aching. She nodded once, unable to speak. Elias opened the box. The ring was simple, elegant, not loud. He didn't slide it on her finger immediately. He waited. Sarah reached out her hand. Elias slid the ring on gently, as if afraid of breaking the moment. Sarah looked down at it, tears falling. Then she leaned forward and rested her forehead against his. They stayed like that, breathing together, quiet and whole. The wedding was small, not because Elias couldn't afford a grand one, but because Sarah didn't want her love to feel like a show. They chose a simple venue, warm light, soft music, a handful of people who truly mattered. Mina sat in the front row, hands clasped, eyes shimmering. Elias stood beside Sarah, steady. Sarah wore a dress that made her look like herself, soft, simple, luminous. When the vows came, they were short, not poetic speeches, just truth. Sarah looked at Elias and said quietly, "Thank you for seeing me when the world tried to make me invisible." Elias squeezed her hand and said, "Thank you for staying kind after you had every reason not to." They exchanged rings. They smiled. And that was enough. No, Serena did not attend. But she watched, not from the shadows, not dramatically, from a distance, in her own way. Weeks later, Serena came to Elias's house unexpectedly. Sarah opened the door. Serena stood there, not polished, not perfect, just a young woman with tired eyes. Sarah's heart tightened. For a moment, neither spoke. Serena's gaze dropped to Sarah's hand, the ring. Serena swallowed. "I didn't come to fight," Serena said quietly. Sarah said nothing. Serena hesitated, then looked up. "I hate that you're here," Serena admitted, voice rough. "I hate that I hurt you, and I hate that I can't take it back." Sarah's throat tightened. Serena's eyes glistened. "My whole life," Serena whispered, "people let me be cruel because it was easier than correcting me." Sarah's breath slowed. Serena looked away, blinking quickly. "I don't know how to be different," Serena said. Sarah studied her. She saw not a queen now, just a girl raised on power and praised for pride, suddenly faced with consequences she couldn't buy her way out of. Sarah didn't forgive instantly. Forgiveness is not a switch. It's a process. But Sarah took a slow breath. Then she stepped aside slightly. Serena's eyes widened.
Sarah spoke softly. "Come in," Sarah said. Serena hesitated, then stepped inside. That was the first small crack in the wall between them. Not peace, not yet, but possibility. Life settled into something gentler. Sarah worked at Ashford Holdings after graduation, earning her place, not being handed it. Mina moved into a smaller, better home, supported by Sarah's stability. And Jonah's absence remained, like an ache that never fully left, but softened with time. One evening, Sarah stood by the window again, watching sunset light spill onto the street. Elias came behind her, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders without a word. Sarah leaned back into him. In the hallway, Serena passed by on her way out. She paused briefly. She looked at Sarah. Then, awkwardly, she said, "Good night." It wasn't warm. It wasn't perfect. But it wasn't cruel, Sarah nodded. "Good night," she replied. Serena walked away, footsteps quiet. Elias kissed the top of Sarah's head lightly. Sarah closed her eyes. She thought of her father's hands, his voice, his dreams. She thought of her mother's struggle, her sacrifices. She thought of the girl she had been, running through the night, drugged, humiliated, certain she would never be safe again. And she looked at the life she had now. Not luxurious in a shallow way, but rich in the only ways that mattered. Safety, dignity, love that didn't demand she shrink. A home built not on perfection, but on healing. Sarah turned in Elias's arms and looked up at him. No dramatic words rose in her throat, no big speech. She just reached for his hand, threading her fingers through his, the way she had that first quiet night. Elias squeezed gently. And in that small, simple touch, Sarah felt it, clear and steady. She had not been saved by wealth. She had been saved by kindness, by endurance, by love that came softly and stayed. The sun sank lower, the room warmed, and for the first time in a long time, Sarah's heart rested. Not because life was perfect, but because it was finally hers. If this story moved you, like the video, subscribe for more emotional love stories. Share this story with someone who needs hope today. Drop a comment. Thank you and see you in the next video.